The Pieces Lie Where They Fell by Anon E. Mouse Jr. Edited and co-authored by Evil Humor. Read for you by My Name is R. Chapter 40. Rex, Sunset Shimmer, Vix Lee, and Nightblade. Part 1. Rex. The next morning, things went about as they usually did in the Pie home, according to Maud. That is to say, Pinky staggered out of her room in a half-awake state, and did not truly awaken until after her first cup of coffee, which Maud had prepared first thing when she came down a short while earlier. 10 seconds after downing the cup, Pinky was her usual perky self, and Rex was rather amused at this sudden shift. "I swear," Applejack said, as she nursed her own, decidedly non-caffeinated, drink. "I don't know how she can drink that stuff." "Neither can our parents," Maud remarked. "Pinky's the only one in the house who drinks it." "I see. I'm just glad you had my preferred beverage on hand," Nightblade commented. "Do you always keep mango juice around?" "Not usually," Maud told him as she took up the food Paige was fixing, the other woman having been up before any of them, though both Applejack and Vix Lee had been mere minutes behind her, and Maud a few minutes after them. But Pinky insisted on getting some a few days ago. She said we'd need it, and when Pinky says we need something on hand, we believe her. "Really?" Rex said as he accepted the plate Maud now handed him. "Does she do such things often?" "Only when it's important," Maud replied, before turning back to the stove. One by one, the other girls, and one boy, drifted into the kitchen, Vix Lee joining them last of all. As the form-changed Minotaur explained, she had gone out to get some exercise while breakfast was preparing, then grabbed a quick shower after her workout. Fortunately, Maud and Paige had made enough food to feed a small army, so there was plenty left even for a hungry ex-Minotaur. After breakfast, there was the matter of getting them all to school on time. Fortunately, between Maud's car and both Rarity and Applejack having driven themselves to the Pie home the night before, Fluttershy had instead gotten a lift from her mother and stopped to pick up Rainbow Dash on the way. There was enough space for everyone. Soon enough, all of them were back at Canterlot High, Rex eyeing the Wonder Colt's statue and wondering what event could have connected it to the mirror that had brought them all to this world. He also wondered if he would ever have the chance to study the mirror and unravel its secrets. As they entered the building, Rex felt a chill running down his spine. Spinning around, he caught a glimpse of something, but whatever it was gone. "You okay, Rexy?" Vix Lee asked, sounding concerned. "I am," Rex replied, "but I had the strangest feeling, as if we were being watched." Vix Lee nodded. "Well, who or whatever it was, they're no match for us." "Thank you," Rex replied. Still, as he headed for Professor Nay's class, he couldn't help but suspect this was only the beginning. Part 2. Sunset Shimmer. Ducking behind the corner of the building, Sunset cursed to herself. That had been too close. And of all of them, she should have expected that triple-blasted diamond dog to pick up on her scent. Taking a moment to compose herself, she headed for a spot where her two henches were waiting. Snips and Snails barely had 2 brain cells between them, in her experience, but they were good at following orders, and that's what mattered to her. "So, are you clear on your orders?" she half asked, half growled at them. "Mm-hmm," the 2 boys nodded. "Good. Now don't screw this up." The boys nodded again and ran off. Watching them go, Sunset smirked. Forget waiting for the dance. She was going to get the crown now. "And when I do," she mentally growled as she headed for her own first class of the day, Before I go back to Equestria, I will make those fools tell me exactly what happened to Celestia and the others. And if her murderer is still alive, I will make them pay. Part 3. Vixley. Later that day, Vixley was walking down the hall when she felt something crash into her, and looked down to see 2 younger students, one with orange hair and one with green. "Hey, where's the fire, boys?" she said jokingly, before frowning. 'Cause seriously, there's a no running in the halls policy around here. "Sorry, Miss Vixley," the 2 chorused, before heading off at a somewhat slower pace. Watching them go, Vixley frowned again. Something's not right here, she thought to herself. Aren't those the 2 that Applejack warned us about? She was no Double D, but even she could smell a rat. Changing directions, she headed after the boys, who seemed to be even more of a hurry, once they thought they were out of her sight. "Whoa!" another student cried as she brushed past him. "Hey, is something up?" Vixley turned to him. "You could say that," she said. "I think we've got a situation, and I could use a second set of eyes to prove it. Care to help?" "Sure." The boy immediately started hurrying along after her. "So, what's up?" "Those 2, she told him, gesturing after the boys who were rounding the corner ahead of them. "Snips and snails?" The boy with her frowned, then groaned. "Don't tell me. Sunset's up to something again." "That's what I think," Vixley told him. "I take it you know of her?" "Know of her? I used to date her. Until I figured out what kind of person she really was." The boy sighed. "After last spring, I really should have seen it, but I hung on for the summer. When we got back, I saw how she was treating those 3 other girls, though, and that was it." "Seriously, who harasses a couple of freshmen like that?" "A jerk," Vixley said. Rounding the corner, she frowned. Now where did those 2 get to? She wondered, as she realized the pair were nowhere to be seen. "There," her companion said. "That door." "Right." Vixley headed for it, then opened it. "Caught you red-handed!" Inside, Sunset Shimmer froze, moments before she could take hold of the crown Snips was holding out to her. "You fools!" she seethed. "You let her follow you!" Sunset. The boy with Vixley stepped in behind her, his eyes widening as he saw what she was doing. "Why?" "Flash?" Sunset stared. "What are you doing with her?" "What a Canterlot Wondercolt should be doing," Flash said firmly. "We watch out for one another. What I don't get is what you're doing. What's so important about that crown that you had to have those 2 steal it for you?" "That's none of your business," Sunset hissed, as she tried to swipe the crown away from Snips, only for him to back off, a sudden look of fright on his face. "I told you to give me that crown, Snips." Boss lady?" Snips pointed towards Vixley, his voice almost a high-pitched squeak. "They're not alone." Sunset looked up and saw that he was right. Vixley and Flash had stepped into the room, but there were now 3 others in the doorway. "Sunset Shimmer," the tallest one stepped into the room. "I can't believe you." "Somehow, I can," Nightblade added as he followed her in, Windbreaker right behind him. "We were warned about these 2, he added, "and when I saw them hiding behind the gym earlier, I had a feeling they were up to no good." "Which is why you sent me to get her," Windbreaker added, gesturing. "Though it looks like we weren't the only ones who decided to have some backup. How'd you wind up in here, Vixley?" "Got 'em running in the halls and thought they were acting a little suspicious," Vixley replied. "It's a good thing, too," Principal Celestia replied as she stepped between Snips and Sunset. "I don't know what you were thinking today, young lady," she said quietly, "but it has cost you dearly. Oh, you are banned from the fall formal. and all other dances, for the rest of your time at this school, unless I see a serious change in your attitude. And you are officially suspended for the next month. Report to my sister's office now. Nightblade, if you would escort her." Sunset glared at her, then at the others. "You had one job to do," she growled at Snips, still hiding behind the principal, "and you messed it up." With that, she headed for the door, Nightblade right behind her. Before she left the room, she turned back one last time. "One way or the other," she hissed, "I am going to get that crown." With that, she stalked off. Principal Celestia sighed. "She had such promise," she said. "I really, really thought she was smarter. And now this. Why?" A noise behind her reminded her she was not alone, and she turned, giving Snips and Snails a stern look. "Don't think you're off the hook for this little matter," she told them. "You two are suspended as well, for the same amount of time, and I will personally be informing your parents about this." She paused. "I'd tell Sunset's parents too, if she wasn't living on her own," she said. "And I'll be taking those crowns now." Sheepishly, the boys handed over the crowns, one damaged, one not. Examining them, Principal Celestia turned to Vixley and Windbreaker. "You can tell Miss Vittle that I will personally return her property at the dance tomorrow evening," she said, "as part of a formal apology to her on this school's part. All of you are invited, of course. We could always use a few more chaperones," she added. "We'll make sure she gets the message," Vixley promised. Principal Celestia nodded. "You two are coming to my office," she said to Snips and Snails. "And Mr. Sentry? I appreciate your helping in this matter, but I believe you should be getting to your next class now." Flash gave her a friendly wave. "On it, ma'am." "Thanks for the help," Vixley called as he left. As Principal Celestia followed him, Snips and Snails in tow, Vixley looked at Windbreaker. "Well, that was easier than I expected," she remarked. "Yeah," Windbreaker said. "Too easy. Maybe Rex is rubbing off on me. And no comments, please. I've heard enough crude jokes since I came here to last a lifetime. But I have a feeling this isn't the end of it." "Maybe you're right," Vixley admitted. "So now what?" "Now I think you need to head back to your class, and I need to get back to the drama room," Windbreaker said. "Get you for last lunch period?" "Last period lunch." "You know it, Bow-Boy." Part 4. Nightblade. "Ooh!" Rarity squealed in delight at the boutique that afternoon. "And you want me to prepare your outfits?" Nightblade nodded. "As used to this outfit as I am becoming," he said, "somehow I think the others and I are going to need something a little different for this dance. And from what we know of your skills, I wouldn't dream of asking anyone else." "Then I know just the thing for you!" Rarity exclaimed as she rushed off. "Be right back!" Vixley grinned as she watched the girl go. "You know, I think we're going to have a really good time tomorrow night," she remarked. "I've only ever been to 1 or 2 of these things, when Dad insisted on bringing me along, but they were all stuffy and formal, and every tar spent the whole night talking business." She sounded rather incredulous. "This time, we're going to get to hang out around with some people more like me, you know? It's going to be real fun." While I, too, expect that a dance aimed at a younger generation is going to be quite different from the balls I have attended before, I must agree with you," Nightblade remarked. "We should be able to relax and enjoy ourselves for a night, and I am quite looking forward to it." "As long as I don't have to serve, I'll be happy," Windbreaker said, as he studied something on one of the shelves. "I've done a few jobs like that in the past." He muttered something under his breath, causing Nightblade to give him a look, but said nothing. "If anyone does spike the punch," Rex said, "they will be in serious trouble." Windbreaker did a double take. "Wait, how did you—" "My ears may look different in this world, but my hearing is as sharp as ever," Rex replied. "How this is possible, I am not sure." Windbreaker sighed. "One of these days, I am going to get over this addiction, and then none of you will be able to hold it over me anymore," he grumbled. Your liver will thank you," Vittle replied. "Me? I'm just looking forward to getting that crown back when this is all over." "I'm kind of looking forward to going back to Equestria, too," Paige admitted. "But I'll miss the library here. And the girls." "Yeah, you and Fluttershy have really bonded, haven't you?" Vixley asked. "I've been having a blast hanging around Pinky. The whole no-touching thing is wearing a little thin. I mean, I can't even give her a high five. But other than that, this place is great." "I can agree with that," Nightblade said. "No guards breathing down our necks, no restrictive parental expectations. But I miss my wings." "I can't blame ya," Rainbow Dash said from her own corner. "I wish I had some. After what the other me pulled off in that other world, that was so freaking awesome." Nightblade did a double take as he suddenly realized they weren't alone. "When did you get in here?" "A few minutes ago," Rainbow Dash said with a shrug. "Gotta get ready for the big dance. The others should be here soon." A bell tinkled over the shop's door, and there they are now. Moments later, 4 other girls crowded into the room, one of them promptly taking a seat in one corner. "Hey," Maud waved. "Hey yourself," Vixley said. "What brings you here?" Pinky insisted. Maud gestured to her sister. "I have my dress already, but she wanted me to come with her anyway." "So you could see me in mine," Pinky said with a giggle. Vittle blinked. "Wait, you're coming to the dance too?" "Pinky invited me," Maud said nonchalantly. "You're allowed to do that sometimes. And I did go to Canterlot High before." "Ah," Vittle nodded. "Well—" Whatever she was about to say was cut off, as Rarity entered with a rack full of outfits, and the group began trying them out. "Sometimes I really don't understand all of this," Windbreaker muttered as he examined a row of suit jackets. "Of course, it probably doesn't help that we don't really wear clothes that much in Equestria, outside of fancy get-togethers. And given how rarely I wound up at one," he shook his head, "fur and feathers were usually enough for me." Nearby, Vixley was studying another rack of items. "Speak for yourself," she remarked. "We Tars may have fur, but I happen to like the idea of being more covered up in some areas." "Ooh, these look good," she remarked as she pulled out a pair of pants. Rarity took one look and let out a gasp. "Darling, are you sure you wouldn't prefer something more like this?" And she held up a large dress. Vixley shook her head. "I appreciate the offer, but most fancy dresses have never really been my thing," she said. "Skirts at most. And for a world like this, I'm going with pants as long as I can." She looked thoughtful. "I wonder if I could carry a couple pairs back to Equestria." "Even if you did, they wouldn't suit your legs there," Rex commented as he selected a vest. "Though I can understand your attachment to the idea. I myself never feel quite comfortable without one of these." "Yeah, you're right," Vixley conceded. "Really wish I knew a good place to pick some up on the other side." "If we have time and can find a shop where the owners won't immediately call the guards on us, I am sure we can get you some," Nightblade responded, as he studied the jacket Rarity had brought him, smiling with approval. "Oh, thank you for this," he said to her. "That emblem is just perfect." "You are very welcome, sir," Rarity said proudly. "Aha!" Vixley suddenly exclaimed as she pulled something out. "Now this looks cool!" She held up a long black duster and grinned. "What do you think? Is it me?" Rainbow Dash took one look and started laughing. "Absolutely, Miss Anderson!" Vixley looked confused. It looks like the hero's costume from one of her favorite action movies," Applejack put in as she tried on a dress. "You'd probably like it if we had time to watch it." "Then I'm definitely keeping it," Vixley grinned. "Now I just need a shirt." Elsewhere, Rex had finished choosing his own outfit, with a red patterned vest he found over a black shirt, black leather pants and boots, with Rarity and Rarity was practically gushing over it. "That looks absolutely stunning on you, good sir." "Yes, it does, doesn't it?" Rex asked, as he admired himself in the mirror. "Refined, yet not too pretentious." "Nice outfit, but I kinda get the feeling you should have a coat sort of like mine to go with it," Vixley remarked. "Thank you, but no," Rex replied. "This suits me just fine as is." As Nightblade and Windbreaker finished donning their outfits, Nightblade, wearing a black tuxedo, white shirt, and red cummerbund with a tie, while Windbreaker had settled on a similar but not as fancy outfit, mostly tan. They turned to see the girls had chosen some very interesting-looking dresses. True to their names, Rainbow Dash had rainbow patterns on the top of her dress, while Applejack had selected one in blue with apple patterns along its bottom edge, and was wearing a slightly fancier version of her usual hat. Pinkie, on the other hoof, had a mix of pink, purple, and blue on her dress, a yellow bow around her middle, and a tiny blue top hat atop her poofy hair. How it stayed on was something Nightblade still couldn't understand. Fluttershy had a blue layer on, over a lengthy yellow skirt, and Rarity's crystalline-looking dress had obviously been inspired by the outfit she had dreamed up for their visit to the other world. Either that, or she had based it on what she was already planning to wear for the dance. Then Nightblade's eyes turned to Paige and Vittle, and his jaw dropped. While Vittle's knee-length red dress looked rather well on her, Paige was positively gorgeous. The dress Rarity had found for her was somewhat old-fashioned. At least, that's what he would be told later. With poofy upper sleeves and tighter lower ones, and a long skirt that almost reached her ankles. The entire outfit was a mix of lighter and darker green, accentuating her natural beauty. Finally, she had chosen to wear her element, its golden color contrasting against her dress's green. She was the most beautiful being Night had ever seen, and he was obviously not the only one who thought so, judging by Windbreaker's own similar reaction. "Wow," the other man breathed. "If she were my own species, and not already taken," he added with a glance at Nightblade, "I'd ask her out in a heartbeat." Nightblade felt a twinge of annoyance, but pushed it down. "Given our current circumstances," he said, both quietly and stiffly, "you have my permission to share a dance with her tomorrow night, if she so agrees." Paige raised an eyebrow at this, causing Night to gulp as she stalked her way towards him. "He has your permission to dance with me?" she asked sharply. "We may be separated, but I believe part of his reason for holding back would be because he does not wish to get on my bad side for dancing with the only mare I have ever cared for," Nightblade said. "I am simply reassuring him that no, he will not be angering or offending me if he asks you." Paige nodded somewhat calmly, though she still had a fierce stare on her face. "Good." As she returned to the other side of the room, Windbreaker nodded. "Thanks," he said quietly. "Dodged an arrow there, didn't you?" "I meant every word, Windbreaker." "Right," Nightblade replied, equally quietly. If you ask, and she accepts, feel free to enjoy yourself without fear of reprisal. Unless you manage to offend her somehow, then there will be trouble. And if there's anything left after Paige is done with you, I call second dibs, and I expect the rest of our group will be right behind me. Gotcha, Windbreaker nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. I won't do anything to offend her on purpose, I swear. Then we have an accord. That settled, the 11 began removing their outfits and setting them aside for the following night. Apparently, Anderson is Neo's original, given name from The Matrix. I was familiar with The Matrix as a concept, and I even knew the word Neo as a character from The Matrix. But I was not familiar with Thomas A. Anderson being his name. I spoke to the author, and they answered my question about that. Well, technically, Anani Mouse answered my question, which, like it's been stated before, he's the one kind of writing the Equestria Girls chapters. Anyway, I wonder what's gonna happen at the dance. We know in canon she made a last attempt at the dance. She might make a similar last attempt here. They don't have any people with them that are going to be as easy to abduct as Spike, but she could still go for the breaking the mirror tactic. Or at least threatening to break the mirror. Interesting. Anyway, we'll see what happens soon. Like I've said before, we're coming close to the end of the story. There are 48 chapters. This was chapter 40. 1 minute! Thank you for listening. I'll see you again later. Goodbye, everyone.